All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unlocking 5 powerful mental models that can literally help you think like a genius.
So let me ask you a question. I want you to think of your brain as a toolbox. When you're facing a really tough problem, whether it's at work or just in life, do you feel like you have all the right tools to solve it? Or does it kind of feel like you're trying to hammer in a screw, The quality of our thinking really just depends on the quality of the tools we have in our mental toolbox. And that is where mental models come in. A mental model is just a thinking framework, a kind of structure for seeing the world that helps you make sense of all the complexity out there and make much smarter decisions. Think of them as professional-grade power tools for your mind.
So in this explainer, we are going to upgrade your mental toolbox with 5 of the absolute most effective models used by world-class thinkers. We're going to cover thinking from first principles, seeing future consequences, inversion, the 80-20 rule, and the circle of competence.
First up is a favorite of innovators and builders everywhere, thinking from first principles. This is our deconstruction tool. So, most of us reason by analogy. We do something because, well, that's how it's always been done. First principles thinking completely flips that on its head. It means you ignore the conventions, you break a problem all the way down to its most basic, undeniable truths, and then you build a new solution up from that rock-solid foundation.
Take Elon Musk. When he decided he wanted to build rockets, everyone told him they were astronomically expensive. But instead of just accepting that, he asked a very simple first principles question. What are rockets made of? He actually priced out the raw materials, the aluminum alloys, the titanium, the copper, and he discovered they were only about 2% of the final cost. Starting from that fundamental truth, he rebuilt the entire solution from the ground up, and, well, SpaceX was born.
Okay, our second tool helps us look into the future a bit by anticipating consequences. It's called second-order thinking, and it's really all about seeing the domino effect that every single one of our decisions can have.
You see, every action has a consequence, but that consequence has consequences of its own. First-order thinking, that's the easy part. It's just looking at the immediate result. So, for example, we build a new highway to reduce traffic. Great! That's the first-order effect. But what happens after that? That's second-order thinking. Maybe people move further away from the city, which leads to urban sprawl. And those businesses on the old main route, they start to die out. Thinking this way helps you avoid those nasty, unintended outcomes down the road.
Our third tool, inversion, is a little counterintuitive, I'll admit, but it's incredibly powerful. It asks you to stop focusing on success for a minute and instead to flip the entire problem completely upside down.
This completely reframes the whole challenge. So instead of asking, how can I be a great investor, you invert it. You ask, what would guarantee that I'm a terrible investor? Well, the answers come pretty easily, right? Make emotional decisions, never diversify, chase all the hype. Once you have that clear list of what not to do, the path forward becomes so much clearer. The key takeaway here is that it's often way easier to avoid stupidity than it is to force brilliance. By identifying and just systematically eliminating what causes failure, you're basically clearing the runway for success. You're just removing all the obstacles.
Next up, we've got a tool for radical focus and productivity. It's officially called the Pareto Principle, but you probably know it as the 80-20 rule.
This principle is fascinating. It says that in many systems, roughly 80% of the results are going to come from only 20% of the effort. In business, for instance, it's super common to find that 80% of the revenue comes from just 20% of the clients. Your job is to identify that vital 20% in any area of your life and focus your energy right there for maximum impact.
And our final tool is all about intellectual honesty and really playing to your strengths. It's called the circle of competence.
This model is so simple, but it is so profound. Every single one of us has areas we understand deeply. That's our circle of competence. Now, the key to making great decisions isn't about having the biggest circle. It's about knowing exactly where the boundaries of your circle are. Because knowing what you don't know is what protects you from making catastrophic mistakes in areas you don't really understand.
And the absolute master of this is Warren Buffett. For decades, he famously avoided the big tech boom. Now, he wasn't saying tech companies were bad investments. He was just saying, I don't understand them well enough. They were, in his words, simply outside my circle of competence. And that discipline saved him from huge losses when the dot-com bubble burst.
So there you go. That completes our toolbox upgrade. You now have 5 powerful new mental tools in your kit. Breaking problems down with first principles, seeing the future with second-order thinking, avoiding disaster with inversion, focusing your efforts with the 80-20 rule, and playing to your strengths with your circle of competence.
Your mental toolbox has just been seriously upgraded. But remember, a tool is only useful if you actually take it out and use it. So the real question is this: which of these powerful tools are you going to use first?